Welcome to this comprehensive guide on navigating international travel after a prior deportation. In this video, we will walk through safety, Schengen rules, and the new European systems that increase scrutiny at the border. We will connect the dots between funding your trip responsibly, preparing documentation meticulously, and understanding how deportation outside Europe interacts with Schengen entry. To ease you in, let's begin with today's agenda, and then we will move smoothly into a clear disclaimer so you know what this video does and does not cover. Here is our roadmap. First, we will clarify whether a deportation from a non-European country automatically blocks entry to the Schengen area. Next, we will discuss the crucial financial safety principle, never being fully dependent on new acquaintances for your trip. Then, we will unpack Schengen basics, including the 90 days and any 180-day rule and screening at the first point of entry. After that, we will cover border scrutiny, honesty, and officer discretion. We will then examine the European entry/exit system and ETIAS authorization. Moving forward, we will provide a practical documents checklist and long-term travel strategy, followed by a table of common mistakes and outcomes. Finally, we will reinforce learning through short quizzes. Before we go further, here is the disclaimer. This video provides general information and does not constitute legal advice. Immigration policies, Schengen membership details, and system rollout timelines can change. For personal legal advice, consult a qualified immigration lawyer. Additionally, check official EU and national government websites for the latest updates, especially concerning EES and ETIAS implementation dates and requirements. With that clarified, let's transition into the core context. Let's establish the core context. A deportation from a non-European country generally does not create an automatic ban for Schengen entry. European border officers focus on security threats relevant to their jurisdiction and your present risk profile. However, if your previous deportation involved serious offenses, such as crimes, fraud, or drug-related activity, those facts can still lead to denial of entry if revealed. Moreover, expect intensive questioning at the border, as officers assess whether your intent is legitimate tourism or if you may overstay or seek unauthorized employment. Crucially, never misrepresent your history. Lying to border officers is a fast and often permanent route to being refused entry. Prepare evidence demonstrating legitimate tourism, demonstrable personal funds, confirmed accommodation, and a paid return or onward ticket. This diagram visualizes the decision pathway at a Schengen external border. The traveler is assessed for essentials: a valid passport, proof of accommodation, sufficient personal funds, and a return or onward ticket. If the traveler discloses past deportation honestly and has no serious criminal red flags, admission is plausible after questioning. Conversely, if the traveler lacks personal funds, relies on new acquaintances to finance lodging or return travel, lacks a return ticket, or tells an inconsistent story, officers may escalate to secondary inspection or deny entry. The chart emphasizes that officer discretion is a critical variable throughout. Now let's transition to financial safety, which is critical. Border authorities expect travelers to demonstrate that they can independently fund their stay and return home. Total reliance on new acquaintances, particularly unrelated hosts, signals risk factors such as potential unauthorized employment or vulnerability to trafficking and exploitation. Always carry recent bank statements, legitimate credit or debit cards, and proof that your return or onward ticket is already paid. Maintain an emergency reserve you can draw upon without assistance. If a friend or host does contribute, treat that help as supplementary, not essential. The pie chart illustrates a healthy funding mix dominated by personal savings and an emergency reserve, with limited host support. To continue, let's make this practical with a preparation checklist. Ensure your passport is valid, with adequate remaining validity and blank pages. Secure and document your return or onward ticket. Prepare accommodation proof, whether through confirmed hotel bookings or reliable host invitations with verifiable details. Collect proof of personal funds, such as recent bank statements and accessible payment cards. Obtain travel medical insurance where recommended or required. Organize a clear travel plan detailing dates, destinations, and activities. If asked, be ready to explain the prior deportation truthfully and succinctly. Demonstrate ties to your home country through employment letters, approved leave, property documents, or family commitments. Finally, keep emergency contacts and contingency funds readily accessible. Quiz time. Question: Which funding approach is most likely to result in denial at a Schengen border? Option A. Personal savings plus a paid return ticket. Option B. A mix of personal funds and a small, documented host contribution. Option C. Fully relying on new acquaintances to pay for lodging and your return flight. Option D. Personal funds and a backup credit card. You may pause the video now to consider your answer. We will discuss the correct answer in the next section. The correct answer is C. Full dependency on new acquaintances for essential travel costs is a significant red flag. Border officials expect independent solvency to reduce the risk of unauthorized work or exploitation. Next, let's review Schengen fundamentals. Within the Schengen area, internal travel is largely border-free, but your authorized stay is cumulative across the entire zone. For visa-exempt travelers, the classic limitation is 90 days within any rolling 180-day period. Importantly, immigration screening and stamping occur at your first point of entry into Schengen, not at each intra-Schengen flight or train afterward. With these basics in place, we can visualize how the 90 out of 180 rule works in practice. Let's break down the 90 in 180 rule using a timeline. Your 90 allowable days are counted across all Schengen countries combined. On any given day, you look back 180 days and count how many of those days you were physically inside Schengen. If the total hits or exceeds 90, you must exit to remain compliant. Overstaying can lead to fines, immediate removal, future entry bans, or problems with ETIAS screening once implemented. Therefore, you should use reliable day counters or official calculators rather than trusting your memory. The visual timeline shows 2 trips whose combined days must not exceed 90 within any rolling 180-day window. This sequence diagram walks through the operational flow. First, the traveler checks in, and the airline verifies that travel documents and, when applicable, pre-authorization requirements are satisfied. Next, at the external Schengen border, the border guard uses the EES system to capture and verify biometrics, such as a facial image and fingerprints, replacing traditional manual stamps. The guard asks targeted questions regarding purpose of stay, itinerary, accommodation, and financial means. The traveler presents proof accordingly. Finally, the officer decides whether to admit or refuse and records the outcome, with discretion applied at each stage. Turning to new systems, the European entry/exit system replaces manual entry and exit stamps with biometric capture, improving accuracy and enforcing the 90 in 180 rule. With EES, overstays become much easier to detect, so you should anticipate consistent, strict compliance checks. ETIAS, a pre-travel authorization similar to the US ESTA, is expected to start in the near future, with current planning indicating around 2026, though dates may be subject to change. ETIAS will include questions about prior criminal convictions and deportations, and a denial prevents boarding entirely. If your background is complex, monitor official EU sources before making travel commitments. Let's compare 2 contrasting profiles. A strong tourist profile includes a paid return ticket, confirmed accommodation, independently verifiable funds, a clear and time-bound itinerary, an employment leave letter or similar ties to home, and honest, consistent answers about prior deportation if asked. In contrast, an overstay risk profile lacks a return ticket, has vague or non-existent accommodation plans, relies on new acquaintances for funding, presents open-ended timelines without commitments back home, and provides inconsistent responses. Border officers weigh these indicators to infer intent. This table outlines frequent pitfalls. Arriving without personal funds signals a risk of unauthorized work or reliance on others, often leading to secondary inspection or refusal. Lacking a return or onward ticket suggests an overstay risk, which may produce refusal or last-minute ticket purchase under pressure. Inconsistent statements damage credibility and frequently result in refusal. Failing to disclose a prior deportation when asked constitutes misrepresentation, typically causing immediate refusal and future adverse notations. Finally, previous overstays indicate a non-compliance pattern, reducing the likelihood of admission. Quiz time again. Question: what does the entry-exit system primarily change for visa-exempt travelers? Option A. It eliminates border interviews entirely. Option B. It replaces manual stamps with biometric entry and exit tracking. Option C. It grants automatic 180-day stays. Option D. It removes the need for return tickets. You may pause the video now to think through the answer. We will reveal the correct choice in the next section. The correct answer is B. EES. Replaces manual stamping with biometric tracking for entries and exits. It does not eliminate interviews, does not extend the length of permitted stays, and does not remove the requirement to prove a plan to exit, such as holding a return or onward ticket. Finally, turn your focus to the long game. Rebuild trust by taking shorter, fully compliant trips that end exactly when they should. Be meticulous in your documentation. Keep a ready folder with recent bank statements, confirmed bookings, travel insurance, and a coherent itinerary. If asked about past deportation, disclose the facts honestly and concisely without volunteering extraneous details. Rigorously respect the 90 and 180 rule and leave on time. Monitor official channels for ETIAS. And submit your application early once available, addressing any screening questions about your past. Strengthen ties to your home country through employment, study commitments, property, or family responsibilities. Above all, protect your personal safety and financial independence. Here are the key points. First, a prior deportation from a non-European country does not automatically block Schengen entry, but you must be honest and consistent. Second, independent funding and a paid return ticket substantially reduce your risk at the border. Third, the 90 days in any 180-day rule applies across all Schengen countries. Fourth, EES introduces biometric tracking, and ETIAS pre-authorization will be required once it launches. Follow official updates. Fifth, officer discretion plays a large role, so present a coherent and truthful profile. Finally, build credibility through compliant travel and demonstrable ties to your home country. To reinforce the essentials using a quick Markdown-style recap: carry a valid passport, secure a paid return or onward ticket, have confirmed accommodation, document your funds with statements and working cards, obtain travel insurance where advised or required, build a clear itinerary, maintain ties to your home country, and, if asked, disclose your past deportation honestly. Do not depend entirely on new acquaintances for essential costs. Finally, always track your stay using a reliable 90 and 180-day calculator. As we conclude, remember to prepare thoroughly, answer questions truthfully, and maintain financial independence. Follow Schengen rules precisely, and keep an eye on EES and ETIAS developments. Over time, careful planning and compliant travel will help rebuild trust and expand your opportunities. Thank you for watching. If this guide was helpful, please like the video, share it with someone planning a trip, and subscribe for more practical travel strategies. Share your questions or experiences in the comments. We read every message and will cover common questions in future episodes.